Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday, and welcome to another episode of Language Facilitation Q&A. My name is Marcy Melzer, and I am an intuitive language facilitation consultant and speech and language pathologist, and I help parents all over the world teach your late talking children how to use natural spoken language so they can share their wisdom with the world. And I have lots of resources that I do online. If this is the first time you are watching me, welcome. If you are a returning visitor, please, welcome again. Hit that like button right now so that you can let me know that you are visiting. Stop in and say hi. And if you have a question for me today about your late talking child, about a method you've tried, about one of my videos that you have watched, about anything related to speech and language development, you are welcome to go ahead and put that question in the comments right now, and I will get to your answer. So I'm just going to go ahead and type a little hello here so that I make sure I'm seeing all the comments as they come in, and everything is rolling along. So like I said, my name is Marcy Melzer, and I am from wavesofcommunication.com. That's my platform where I have Facebook and YouTube videos where I have all different kinds of topics, and many of the topics that are in those videos that I do come from questions that I receive from folks in the community who are having late talking children, and they have all kinds of issues about them. And a real common question that I get is, how do I get my late talking child to play with me? They don't want to. They're doing their own thing. There's lots of different reasons that late talkers don't want to play with their parents, but there's really only two main ones that I like to focus. So if your child's not paying attention to you when you're trying to get them to play things, then they are not interested, or they're not having fun with that activity. Even though it's the most fun that you think it could be ever, it might not be very fun for your child. And even though it might be fun for lots of other kids, it's just maybe not very fun for your child. So what I like to do is I've got 5 strategies to help you get your child to want to listen and focus on you and play together with you. And the main reason, the main secret that I have going on is to help you. There's Sean. Hey, Sean. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Like I said, if you're just joining me now, say hi. I'm trying not to get distracted by comments, but I really like engaging with all of you parents out there. So like I said, this topic, Sean's very excited to get going on it, and it's a real common thing. So the first thing that you need to remember, the number one thing, is if you want to get your children to play with you, first, you must show your child that you coming in to play with them is not going to be any kind of pressure, that they're going to enjoy the activity from their perspective. Not, like I said, because other kids think it's fun, or it's something you read on the internet, or even something that I said to do. This thing that you want to try to play with your child very first needs to be child directed. So that means that if your child is interested in cars, dinosaurs, trains, walking, running in circles, jumping on the trampoline, tearing paper, whatever they like to do a lot. And I call this the activity, the whatever your child would do if you could leave them alone for a minute and you had to go to the bathroom or wash dishes or do a load of laundry, where if you left them to their own devices to do whatever they wanted to do, this is the activity I'm talking about. Whatever they like to do, that's what they choose to put their energy into, that one activity, tearing paper, whatever it is. So let's say it is tearing paper, because I just do have a new family in my program where that is their little guy's superpower. That's his thing. He has a lot of anxiety. He's actually 12, and he's not really interested in any kind of structured play or toy at all. The only thing that he does consistently is like to tear this paper. And his mom and I talked about that he likes to tear paper, we believe, because he tends to go for that activity whenever he needs to self-regulate, whenever he's not comfortable, whenever he's feeling fearful, whenever he's feeling ill because he has a child who has some chronic illness issues going on, whenever he's not feeling right, good, happy, safe, easy, happy, safe, and fun, whenever life's not going real smooth for him, he always goes to tearing paper. So she thinks, like, well, that's the only thing that he's interested in because that's the only thing that I see him focused on. However, we had to dig in a little bit more, and I said, you know, remember, here's this question. If you could let him, when he's in a good mood, whatever he wants to do on his own, what is he reading about? Because her son reads. What is he looking at pictures of? What is he gravitating to? Like I said, it could be trains, it could be puzzles, it could be books, it could be reading. Whatever it is about your child that they love to gravitate to when they are feeling good, this is the activity that you have to start with. And here's the process you go through. First thing you do, you identify the activity that your child wants to do. The second thing is you do what I call observe and comment. So if your child is ripping paper, you want to talk about that activity that they are doing as if it was the World Series of Baseball or Christmas Day. It's so cool and exciting, and you have to look at that activity to figure out, why does your child choose to do it? What are they loving about it? If it's a videos, if they love to watch videos, is it what kind of videos and what do they like about it? If they are building, if they are lining, if they are any kind of repetitive sort of activity like that, you need to notice those things and pay attention to how your child is feeling. This is what's really important. They are feeling easy, happy, safe, and fun when they are doing this thing. The reason kids avoid playing with parents is when they feel uneasy, unhappy, unsafe, and the activity does not seem fun to them. That's why they choose to ignore, go away, resist whatever reason of what you're doing. So what you have to know about what your child loves is, how do they feel and what makes them feel good like that? And you have to try to experience that yourself too. So that's the next thing. You want to observe and comment. Don't comment to describe what your child is doing. Comment because you think with your opinion about that thing. So if your child is ripping paper and it's fluttering, if they like to watch it fall, if they like to listen, if they're going shh, if it's making noises, whatever it is that you notice your child loves about that thing, you talk about that situation using the vocabulary for the feelings. Whoa, that's relaxing, tearing paper. That feels nice when I watch it with my eyes. When I hear that ripping sound, that makes me feel good. That makes me feel, and talk about it like, I can see why my child loves that thing. And when you talk about it and how to do that thing, all you do is you just talk about it. Don't try to get in there. Don't try to do it with them. Just notice, there you are, ripping paper again. I like how that looks. That sounds nice. Or if your child loves to listen to headbanging music, I love how that beat feels. If your child loves jumping on the trampoline, I can see how that feels very bouncy. You look very bouncy right now. I mean, bouncy isn't a thing, but it's what your child is thinking. Like, my parent cares about how I feel about this thing that I'm doing. And that's how you do it. That's what you do. You get them in by explaining to them, look, I know that whatever you love right now is so cool. And you comment about it without engaging. That's the first step. Now, once your child is like, allowing you in their space, even just to let them know, like they're not hiding from you. They'll turn their body language a little bit more toward you, where they'll start to show you what they're doing, as long as you are not threatening. As soon as you start to be threatening and your child moves away, that means you've pushed too hard. So if you want to get your child to want to start to play and talk with you, then you have to make yourself seem not threatening. You're not going to teach them anything. You're not going to try to make them change. You're not going to even make them change doing what they're doing. You just want to know what is so cool about that thing. And you talk about it first, and then you move into the next step, which is parallel play. So you're like, I want to try that. Don't take your child's. Provide your own experience. If your child's banging a ball against the wall, if your child's clicking their nails, if your child is whatever your child is doing, ripping paper, you get your own paper and you start ripping paper. And you comment about how you feel while you are doing the paper. And then you also, after you comment about yourself for a minute, remember, you're taking the attention away from your child. You're bringing the attention onto you because you want your child to pay attention to you. And you are doing exactly what they are doing. So at least they're going to notice you in the room, right? You're sitting near them, you're doing what they're doing, and they're looking at you. And they're not threatened. They're not going away, because right now we're fighting against everything I bring, my child goes away. So you're like, okay. And they need to trust. This is a level where they need to trust that you're not going to take their thing. You're not going to correct their thing. And then here's the next trick. You have to goof it up. You have to mess it up somehow. Do it wrong. Do it differently. Not differently than them, but so differently that it calls attention. So like maybe you drop your paper on the floor or something that is not quite perfect. And then here's the trick. You ask your child to help you get better at that thing. So let's say you're trying to rip paper and you get the paper and you're like, I can't get it. Like, I can't get it started. Like, I don't know how to do it. Can you help me? And ask your child to help you. And if they take it away from you and just do it themselves, then that demonstration is a help. Let me watch you. Can you do it again? Ask your child and they watch you. So you're like, oh, now I'm consciously watching you because I want to try at the same time. And then you do it at the same time your child is. All right, you rip paper. Let's do it together. Let's try to do it together. And you are imitating your child, not vice versa. And if your child takes the paper and puts it on their head, you do that. You start to imitate them. That's what happens next. Instead of you being director, you give your child some freedom for them to make the rules. Like, well, now what do we do? And that's how you ask for help. Like, what happens next? And what do I do now? As your child demonstrates what they're doing. Now, if at any point so far in the process, your child's like, you're trying to teach me, that means you're pushing too hard. So it might take you with a very resistant, very independent child, it might take you the first time in one episode of trying to do this, what I call reach and teach. In your first episode of reach and teach has to be just observation. Like maybe you don't even engage with your child at all, but you spend time yourself trying to figure out how they feel, because you can't go in there and try to interact unless your child feels 100% that you're not going to pressure them or try to teach them anything. Because they need to be able to learn with fun. If it isn't fun, it isn't fun, right? All right, so after you get to that point and you ask your child for help and they start to teach you some stuff, then you have to talk about your experience. Oh, thank you for teaching me. Now I know how to do it, and you do it, and you ask for your own critique. Did I do it right? Did I do it good? Yay! And then I'm like, clap for yourself, cheer for yourself. I did it. And then watch your child do it and then cheer for them when they did it. Wow, your paper looks great. It's falling so nicely. It is whatever. And when you use careful, slow talking about these things that your child does, this is going to be what makes them feel comfortable enough to want to respond to you. So remember, when you're doing all of this, parallel play, like I'm playing next to you, I'm doing what you do, I'm imitating you, I'm asking you to help me, and all of that, all of those kinds of experiences, that's how your child learns that you are safe, that you're not going to pressure them, that you don't have any expectations, that you don't have whatever, that you're just, whatever their ideas are valid. And when your child understands that you give them credit for, wow, I want to understand your ideas, I want to see that they're valid, and I want to know why, because it makes me feel good, or it makes me feel whatever. Now, if your child is doing something that you don't like, it's very good and important that you tell your child why you don't like it. If they like to eat, rice with ketchup on it or something like that, and that's not something that you want to eat, you can talk about that too. And it's very, very important that you do so, because you need to give your child the language to call you on your bluff and say, wait a minute, you're trying to teach me now, I don't like that. And when your child says, I don't like it, you have to respect that feeling. So if your child says, I don't like flashcards, I don't like book, I don't like writing, I don't like that stuff, they know that that feeling comes from you, because it's like, I don't like loud music, I don't like rice and ketchup, I don't want to eat that thing. That language is very, very important for a late talker to understand, because that's how you get a feedback to know how hard are you pushing or not. Because otherwise you have to know non-verbally. They go to walk away from you or whatever. So this method of what I call reach and teach is literally just getting your child to teach you first. And then the next activity that you want to bring to your child, there must be something about that novel activity, the puzzle, the book, the writing, the whatever, that has some similar feeling. Falling, tearing, gluing, jumping, moving, whatever it is that you bring to the table the next time that you want your child to learn about, it must have a capacity to help your child feel in some way the same way they feel when they do that favorite activity. That's what helps you get your child to think you're cool enough to want to learn something new. And unless you get to that, I'm happy to sit with you and look at this thing that you're doing, that's when you know your child is going to be ready to move into doing some more, hey, let's play with this toy my way for a change. And it's not going to be some kind of teaching thing that they break down. So that's the start of it anyway, about how to get your child to want to play and talk with you. And I'm saying play and talk because first you have to get your child to be in the same space and engage with you before they want to play with you. And they have to play with you about the same thing at the same time in order for you to get the joint attention that's needed for them to learn language from you, for you to listen, for them to listen to the words that you're saying. So these activities are very, very important, these reach and teach activities. You can't, the time that your child spends on their own independently, if they're independently trying to get things from the cabinet themselves, build things, get out of doors themselves, get into the car, solve those problems they're trying to do independently, each one of those independent activities is an opportunity for you to teach your child the language they need. And the reason that they are independent and don't want your help is because they don't think you're a good teacher. They don't like how you teach. They don't like how you're talking about the situation. They don't want to be prompted through it. They just want to do it themselves and get it done and get it over with. And especially for older children, if you are trying to get an older child to sit down and do things that younger kids do, even though maybe their interest is Thomas the Tank, but they're 15 years old, which is the reality for a lot of late talkers, they like things that are more juvenile because the language that comes with them is easier for them to understand. But the concepts, like what they love in their head, they could be interested in politics or space or engineering or whatever. They're brilliant kids, but they like younger language models because the talking is easier for them to process and understand. So when you talk to an older child, you must always be at their cognitive level. Anytime you present them with something they think is baby stuff or too young, or you talk to them like they're a baby, it turns them off, and it makes them want to be independent of you. And you want your late talker to want to spend as much time with you, listening to you while you do things together. So bag those ideas. No more flashcards, writing, repetitive stuff at home. No more homework. At home, if you have a late talking child, your homework is talking about the things you do every day. And if you don't have something to do, think about the chores that you do every day. The laundry, the dishes, shoveling snow, getting the mail, picking up dog poo. These are the things that you need to get your child part of your household to do so that they understand they have a responsibility to be and learn and do these functional things that make sense to them. Because a 15-year-old with flashcards, it just doesn't make sense. They've had it for years in therapy. If it isn't working, bag it. Do something natural in your everyday environment. That's how you get your kids to want to play and talk with you, is by doing things that they love, that they are focused on, and empowering them to be the expert in those things that they love, and let them teach you about those things and learn from them. And when they see you breaking down your teaching walls and being an objective, open-minded learner, this will help them adopt the same mindset. And a late talker who is older, who's stuck in I am a nonverbal visual communicator, I only type, I only write, I only use a picture system, but I want to talk, but my go-to is nonverbal, getting them to shift into they must feel really good about it. And that's how you know that you have broken down barriers and blockages, is when you get your kids listening and looking and wanting to play and talk with you. That's how you know you've made a shift in your child. And then once you make that shift, you can teach them anything. So it's really, really important, this first step. If you want another video that has more detail, you can find it on my YouTube channel. It's called Reach and Teach Your Child to Talk Naturally. I think look for Reach and Teach. Just type that in and you'll be able to see it. So all right, so hi Deepika, you're live first time. Welcome for joining me. And there's Nicole. Hi, thank you for joining me, everybody. I'm so happy to have you all here. And there's Laura. Hi, Laura. So Sean has a question here. Sean says, my son flips through magazines and books. Sometimes he actually reads and invites me to read with him, but other times he's just flipping. I try to join and flip book pages too, but he stops me. He does not want me to flip too. What do I do? First of all, you respect that. So if you are seeing different things, Sean, with those books, then what you need to understand is in this moment, he wants to read words and share what's in this book with me. It is of interest to my son to share this experience. And then you jump on it for sure. Because if your child does want to share time with you, you do. But when they do not want to share time with you, number one, you have to realize, why is that? Why do they need a little alone time? Maybe they do. And then you need to let them have that alone time. But you let them know that you're going to have them, that you have acknowledged, oh, you don't want to play with me. Like I said, it's just as important as you talk about what your child wants to do. You want to flap, you want to jump, you want to line things up. That looks really cool. It's just as important to talk about the things they don't want to do, because that's where the behaviors, frustration behaviors, replace the language. When a child is like, I don't want to go to that party because there are too many loud people there. I don't want to go. They desperately want to know the words to tell you that. And then they desperately want you to comply with that direction, right? Because something that they're so emotional about, they're going to have words for first. So remember, your child's flipping pages. Could he be flipping pages as a way to self-regulate? And he's like, no, I'm self-regulating right now. Could it be a way that he's meditating and thinking about something else? And he just kind of doesn't want to be out of his head right then. He needs a little mind time where he's doing his own thing. If it's too much of that, where he's completely refusing you, then you need to say, all right, there's only so much time we can have page flipping, just like there's only so much time we can watch videos or run around outside. You can set a timer to say page flipping is over now, but anytime you want to transition him out of that activity, you need to have a replacement activity that gives a similar feeling. So again, he doesn't want you to join that activity, and if you sit and flip next to him, he doesn't want you sitting next to him. It doesn't matter what you're doing with the paper. He sees you as invasive and he wants you to go away. So you say to him, you don't want me here now. I am going away. I'll be back in 5 minutes, and go away. Because he's like, wow, that was powerful. My mother understood me and she complied with me. I have power, right? And when you empower your child to be like, wow, that's good. Like, she understood my gesture. And I know in Sean's case, her little guy doesn't do a lot. He uses a lot of eye contact and waiting for other people to guess what he wants. And so in this case, you can't guess what he wants. You just have to look at face value of that. And if he says, no, thank you, you have to say, no, thank you. You don't want me flipping by you. I'll stop flipping. You look at magazines. I'm going to cook. Or, you know, whatever you're going to do. And if your child wants you to be near him, but he doesn't want you to flip pages, then you have to sit quietly and look at him. And it goes back to that first one, which is observe and comment. So he's not even ready for you to move into do what I do. You just have to be like, you're flipping. I like it. Look at the pages. You know, things like that. So you're just commenting about what he's doing. And at any stage of this process, if your child is is not buying in, like whatever you're trying to do at any of these stages, if your child doesn't even want you looking at what they're doing, then you're too invasive and you've got to start looking from across the room. And then you just sit next to them and say nothing. And let them tolerate letting you sit next to them. And then you make a comment, you let them tolerate making a comment. But if you're sitting there and you make a comment and they don't like you making a comment, you say, I'll be quiet. I'm just watching. Wow. I like that. And if they try to push you away, you're talking too much. Anytime because kids will tell you if they don't want to. Sorry, my nose is totally itchy. Somebody must be thinking about me. So hopefully that helps. And then when your son is focused on the book and he does want to read with you, you can't make too big of a deal about it. You have to remember, let him think he's the expert. Oh, you're talking about, because he does know how to read. So he likes cookbooks and music books and whatever it is that he's pointing out to you in the page with his finger, that's a real communication. Oh, that's a good article about whatever. I like that recipe for cookies. That is really cool. No questions, no prompting, no, what do you think? Tell me what you think. Expand on what no, just, because he's in his own way explaining to you what he sees about this book, article, magazine, whatever it is. Even if he just likes how the lines are, whatever. You have to figure out, what does he like about that? I like that too. I like those lines too. I like the shapes. Oh, that picture's scary for me. I don't like it. And give your true opinion. You don't have to agree with everything, but he wants to know that you're not going to pressure him to say anything. And he also needs to hear you talk about your own experience so that he can take it from there and move on. So, all right. Laura says, excellent topic, brilliant advice and techniques. Thank you so much, Laura, for joining me. Hi, Preeti. Hi, Preeti. And there's Deepika says, can you give me ideas? My daughter constantly shakes spoons, pens, and everything in her hands and looks at it. Thanks in advance. So Deepika, she likes the movement. She likes the movement of how that looks on her hand. It is in some way soothing her and helping her organize. Some kids call it stimming. I call it regulating. And when she likes to have that thing to see that thing, you have to figure out what is going on at the same time for her to do that activity. Does she need to be distracted from whatever? Is it her way to escape? Is it her way to soothe? Is it her way to be curious? Is it her way to focus? Because she could be even moving things by her eyes, and that helps her listen better. So you notice, like, when you're talking to her, she wants to do that, and you might think that she's distracted away from you by that object and the flapping, but in fact, she is probably using that to help her concentrate and focus on what you're doing. And you know that by knowing, does she respond or not? If you need her to look at you and respond while she's shaking that thing, just touch her shoulder. So she has to turn and look at you, and that way you'll know if she's paying attention to you. Don't talk about the flapping or the shaking or the moving or the thing. It doesn't matter so much. The idea is she needs to use it to help her regulate, so let her do it. And if it is injuring her or someone else or whatever, then you need to find something else that's going to give her a similar experience. You can't just extinguish a child's regulation behavior. And a regulation behavior is something that they do all the time on their own, and you notice it when they're anxious, when they're super happy, when they're getting out of control. When you see other kids running around and being crazy, they are more organized, actually, because another kid who gets too overstimulated, eating too much candy or whatever. Sorry, let me get a drink. Excuse me. So if other kids get overstimulated, they're going to get, you're going to see it in their behavior. They're going to get wired. They're going to talk fast. They're going to run around, scream a lot, that kind of stuff. Kids don't feel well. Excuse me, you'll see that their behavior change as well. With your child, anytime they do something a lot, look for the patterns to find out what's going on. Now, like I said, don't try to distinguish or extinguish that behavior, but talk about the feelings your child is experiencing while they're doing it. Because when they hear the language and they learn the language, that's what replaces the behavior. And that's how you help work through it. Okay, and there's Nancy. Hi, Nancy. And Nikki says, my son enacts hickory dickory dock rhyme with his play animal toys and clock. I join him and he likes it. The same with row, row. Exactly, Nikki. When he starts to do things, when your child has the thing they love, if it's rhymes, a lot of kids love the rhymes, they get very good at it, right? Whatever they get good at, that's their superpower. And whenever they're really good at whatever, even if they're not good at it, they're better at it than other things, So for example, they might not know all the words to the row boat, but they will start to do that to get you to join them so that you sing their favorite song more. It's how they manipulate you non-verbally, which is amazing, because then your child, oh, you're singing the row, row song. You want mama to sing with you. I will sing with you. Just talk about why your child, instead of just automatically responding by singing the row, row song when your child starts to sing, wait for them to consciously ask you to do that. And when they do, like by inviting you to try or saying the word or whatever they do to try to invite you, you say, I want to sing with you. And talk about the activity, which is those verbs, right, that they're missing, about what you're going to do. I want to sing with you. You don't want me to sing with you. All of those things are what your kids need to hear. So excellent. Excuse me. My goodness. Preeti says, my son acts too headstrong, and if something doesn't happen his way, he starts crying nonstop. It's just endless crying, even in his sleep. Should I give in, or... His crying makes it difficult to say anything with him when he's constantly trying. He's 6 years old and able to use 2 to 3 words to talk. Okay, so let's see. Is it self-regulatory? Sorry, Deepika has, if she turns to me when I touch her, is it okay for And if she turns to me when I touch her, is it okay for her to do it? Yeah. I mean, it's okay. Is it self-regulatory? It is. I mean, if she turns to you when you're talking, she doesn't have to give eye contact like this over and over again. If she turns to you, she's paying attention. She's probably using this to help listen or whatever, if you're giving her statements. Now, remember, it all depends on what you're saying to her at the same time. If you need her to do something right now, then you have to give her those directives. But if you're just trying to get her to engage with you, then you got to go back and use the strategies I talked about at the beginning of this thing and not try to pull her out of whatever she's doing at all, but you got to get in there with her. And that's what we're talking about. So hopefully that will help you, Deepika. All right. So now Preeti says that she's got a little one a 6-year-old who is very headstrong. So the reason that kids get headstrong, Preeti, especially at 6 years old, is because they have been told no many, many times in their life. And no, when they hear that no, is a trigger for them to respond with behavior, because they know that they don't have language to negotiate, and they know that they're going to get some kind of a response to their behavior, especially if the behavior is significant. If they're hitting, throwing, big noises, you know, all that stuff, the bigger the behavior, and the kids know how to turn it like a volume. They should use that behavior. It is your child's primary communication. So even though your child uses 2 to 3 words to say maybe the requests or when he's in a good mood, he doesn't have the language to respond when he hears the word no. So he shifts automatically into crying. And my guess is that you are responding to the crying and not the original message. So this is how you fix that. If your child is doing something that they cannot have, let's say they, you know, you have to figure out, first of all, if it is a deal breaker. Yes, you cannot have that thing. So for example, they've had 4 cookies already and they want another cookie, and they're all done. No more cookies. Okay. So the first thing is that can be pretty frustrating for a child if they don't see it coming. So are they blindsided? Is your child blindsided in some way by this no, by this negative? Maybe it is something, like I said, if they've already had 4 cookies and you said yes, 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 and you're not saying yes the 5th time, then for some reason you changed and broke the rules. You said no, and they got frustrated by that. So the way you solve the problem when your child is blindsided by you is by giving them forewarning. The first time you agree to give your child a cookie, you say you're going to have 2 cookies, 1 for each hand. That's it. Hold out your hands. You can have 1 cookie for each hand. You give them the parameters of what they can do. You can watch 1 show. You can do this. You can eat, you know, you have 1 candy, whatever it is that they so desperately got to have. If you are going to give it to him, then you say, all right, you can have this, and exactly the parameters of what that is. If it is only 1 show, if it is 20 minutes, set it on a visual timer, and then let your child know when the time is up, then this activity stops and the iPad goes away. After you have those 2 cookies, there are no more cookies. And you say it from the beginning of the request, okay? This is how you avoid blindsiding your child. Because what happens is when they hit that part where they get the tantrums, then it turns into they can't listen, they're not listening, you're too busy, and the behavior escalates. So maybe then they do things that are discipline worthy potentially. They hit you, they hurt something, they throw something. And these things, then you get angry about the behavior and you're working on the behavior. And the original message was, I already had 4 cookies and I don't understand why I can't have number 5. Okay. And that got forgotten in the shuffle while you're too busy trying to get him from kicking the door, you know, because he got mad and kicked the door because he couldn't have the 5th cookie. He's angry. So whatever your child is feeling, in that moment that they are crying. You have to call them out on those feelings. You are angry. You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it again. I asked you too many times. Whatever it is that they are feeling, you have to say that out loud, right? And that's how you get over the tantrums, is by saying, all right, you don't want to do this. And then you have to replace it with the language for that feeling. You don't feel happy because it's too noisy in here. You want to go because it's too noisy in here. And realize that your child does have words to say, but they don't feel confident enough with the language to pull them out. So if you try to get your child to use his words when he is physically upset and using behavior to do it, it's only going to make him more frustrated. It's like saying to someone when they are ballistic, blah, 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 meltdown, just calm down. Just calm down. It never works. It never works because there is a real reason your child is turning up the volume on his behavior. And you must communicate what that reason is. That's how you get him to stop doing it, especially if he's 6. And he can use 2 words. So you need to be modeling language like, you feel angry now. I am upset, because there are rules about being upset. You can be upset, but you can't wreck the house. You can be upset, but I can't understand you if you cry. I want and make sure the number one thing you say before you say no, not, never, anything, or stop crying, or don't do that, is you tell your child what to do. Your child says, I want a 5th cookie. You say, it is not time. You didn't say no. You said, cookie time is done. We're not having a cookie. And you immediately talk about what you are going to give your child instead. I'm not going to give you a cookie, but I am going to give you a hug. I can give you kisses. I can give you other sweet things that you need a cookie. And in 15 minutes, I can give you dinner. But I can't give you a cookie right now because I can't do it. Call yourself on the thing like, this is not my rule. We're not going to do it. I can't do it now. And I know, cry. Come hug it out. Come hug it out. I know, give me the blame. I know. But I promise you, I'm going to make you feel better because I'm going to give you hugs and kisses, or dinner in 15 minutes, or we're going to go read a book together, or something that is equally as reinforcing and soothing as another cookie would be, right? It must be that way. Otherwise, you're not going to get your child to ever give up those tantrums. They're always going to go back to that behavior, Preeti, and over and over and over again, just keep wanting to do it. So, all right, let's see. Laura says, I love that my 3-year-old still expresses her emotions, and that includes moving her hands around and jumps with excitement, right? So I know that look. Now I join in with her when she does it and use that time to use language facilitation to talk to her. Excellent, Laura. That is wonderful. And Deepika says, thank you so much. This is my first live session and fully satisfied with what you're explaining. I'll surely join sessions hereafter. Deepika, thank you for joining. If you haven't seen the free class on my website, there's a great class over there on wavesofcommunication.com, and you can check it out. There's a whole introductory class, and there are 200 videos on YouTube you can also check out to see. I also have a book, everybody. It's called If It Isn't Fun, It Isn't Fun. Teach your child to talk faster than speech therapy. Parents are amazing language facilitators. After 30 years of speech therapy, I realized that parents know how to facilitate natural spoken language faster and easier than speech therapists ever can, because you know your kids. You have this intuitive ability to understand their feelings, and that's how you can give them the words they need that replace those behaviors, and they feel easy, happy, safe, and fun, and they start to talk. It's happening all over the world. You can get the book on Amazon. There's a link in the description, by the way, if you want to see that. So let's see. All right, Nikki says, thanks. Also going great with your 7 days no prompt challenge. Nikki, thank you. By the way, if you have taken the Swamping the Prompting Challenge, I need help. Please, please, please. This is a wonderful way for you to help me back, okay? I made a survey that parents can fill out anonymously. It doesn't collect emails or anything. All it does is collect your child's age and diagnoses and stuff. Just a little personal information about your experience and the kind of changes you have seen in your child when you did the Swapping the Prompting Challenge. Now, I'm collecting this information, this data, because I want to put together a study to show the professionals in the speech therapy community, in the autism community, in the children parenting community, in the Facebook community, that how powerful this Swapping the Prompting Challenge and how powerful parents can be and how fast you can see changes, because this is a 7-day challenge. So if you are interested in doing that, Swapping the Prompting Challenge, there is a post that's here on my Waves of Communication page that it has a link to the survey online where you can complete it. And so, Nikki, I hope that you will do it after 7 days so that I can have your information tabulated. I'm really hoping to get 100 families fill out that survey. I've got 4 so far. So everyone is another tick towards it. More than 2,000 people have watched this video. So if you know somebody who's taken the challenge, or you know anybody who follows my page, or you see it in other groups, this is a super wonderful way for you to give back and also help to justify this program for any parents who are skeptical and potentially about, like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can help my child. I need to rely on therapists. And I want to let parents know how powerful they are. And this challenge has been such an eye-opener for so many parents when they learn just some easy ways to shift how they facilitate language. Their kids are starting to talk. So I know, Nikki, you're one of them, and I know that there's a lot of other folks who are too. So I promise to share my experience. Thank you so much on the survey. Thank you, Nikki. God bless you, Marcy. God bless you too, Nikki. Thank you so much. And Preeti says, really appreciate you answering me. I have been using your techniques for some time now. It seems to be making a difference. Pretty excellent. So look for that Swapping the Prompting Challenge survey so that you can put your data in and get your vote counted, because I can say to parents and professionals all over the world how powerful I know parents are. I've been working with parents for decades. I know that you can do this when you take responsibility and learn how to do these strategies and teach your kids yourself. So thank you so much for joining me. All right, here's one more question from Sunita, who says, hi, Marcy. Thank you so much for your support. You are so welcome. My 7-year-old son is improving well with speech. Excellent. Excellent. And let's see, whoops. My query is, my son sometimes bangs his hand to one side of his head next to his ear. Can I know the reason and how to stop? He bangs his hand while excited or ideal or angry. So that is a habit. It's a self-regulating habit that it's kind of like I was talking about. Another mom has those stimming behaviors that are self-regulatory. And some kids have a real hard time with regulating their emotions and focusing. And this is kind of like a habit to help them communicate their feelings. So this is, again, the strategy, same strategy, Sunita. You want to help your child by modeling the words for the feelings he is feeling. That's his go-to language. And if tapping his head means, wow, you're really happy about that. You think that ice cream is yummy. You are, angry that he took your toy. You have to explain it to your child. These are the feelings you're feeling right now in words. And then your child is going to know, is potentially, hopefully, going to start to replace that head banging, which is their communication of, I'm feeling a certain way right now. And it's so general that it's even multiple different ways they're feeling. So you want to help your child go, you are feeling a certain way, happy, sad, fearful, anxious, whatever right now. I can tell you are feeling happy right now. You are happy about the balloon you have, or whatever it is that's going on. And let it happen, let it continue. If other people don't like it, you explain, that's how my son thinks. That's what he needs to do. Because a lot of people have behaviors when they are thinking hard. They twirl their hair, they chew on pencils, they chew gum, they flap their leg. A lot of people have behaviors that help them focus and concentrate. They just use it while they're doing something like sitting in a library or attending a lecture. Your child may need that extra help and movement so that he can focus on everyday life and listening to you talk. It also is an indication that life is coming at your child too fast, including your talking. So if your child has these stimming and self-regulatory behaviors increasingly, that means the anxiety is higher. Anxiety comes with too much information all at the same time. Kids with ASD diagnoses, this is a common thing that they talk about, is an issue for them. If they are feeling overwhelmed, even if they're overwhelmed by the noise of the air conditioner when it turns on, whatever they are distracted, annoyed, dysregulated, whatever that's happening, that's causing that to happen, it's distracting them from everything else in life until they can deal with how they feel, until they get regulated again. So they're going to pull out their go-to, chewing, tapping, flapping, whatever it is. And you got to let that happen and help your child continue to move through whatever it is they're trying to do functionally while they have that tool if they need it, while you give them language. So Sean says, my son did the same thing for about 2 years and then it faded away. Exactly. It fades when they become more comfortable in their world and their energy feels regulated and understood again. So Laura says, thank you, Marcy. I really appreciate all the advice and strategies. Thank you so much. If you're watching live, please hit the like button so that we get lots of likes on this video. Share it with your friends. If you're watching over on YouTube on the replay, you can post your question in the comment. Even if you're posting on the replay, watching the Facebook replay, you can post your question in the comments and then I will get on it next week. So just before I go, I'm going to tell you the Q&A times. Thursdays on Facebook, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. I'm in Florida, if anybody is curious. And the weather here is just getting gorgeous. We have our beautiful winter, which is like the best weather ever, where it gets in the 70s. And maybe we even have 80s some days, and it's beautiful and sunny. So I'm enjoying living in Florida right now. Eastern Time, USA, 2 p.m. on Facebook and on YouTube. Now that I have 1,000 subscribers over there, you definitely want to head over there, subscribe, hit the little notification bell so that you get notified every time I go live. Not only that, but now that I have 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be starting to post content over there in the community tab. So you're going to be able to follow new posts that I get out over on other platforms are also going to get over on YouTube, and I get to use it like a real extension of my Waves of Communication platform. Super excited about that. And then I'm getting together in December is going to be my first communication switch workshop with Devangi Dalal. It's hosted live in India, but it's going to be teleconferenced, and it's going to be an hour-and-a-half conference it's like a workshop for parents of late talking kids to get started and help do. It's another way, and it's only going to be a $20 ticket, $19 ticket. So you're going to be able to see that. So follow my page, hit the like button, and then you're going to be able to see all the opportunities for you to continue to learn from me and help your late talking child learn to use all the words they need to share all their wisdom with the world. And thank you so much for joining me, everybody, today. Thanks for all your following, likes, shares, all of that stuff. And I will see you all on my next video. Have a great weekend.